Now let's go upstairs to our host, James Brown.
All right, Jim, thank you very much. And I can't help but smile thinking about Jim Lampley's words in talking about Eric Morales, who was filing a very effective brief against Alberto Martinez. And I think it's also safe to say that he also filed a very effective closing argument, very forceful indeed. All right, coming up next, we're going to have a featherweight bout between Kevin Kelley and Bones Adams. Certainly boxing purists know all about the Flushing Flash Kevin Kelley, a young man who, as Jim indicated, has a mouth that is as quick as his hands. Kevin Kelley says he wants to regain the lofty status that he did enjoy as a featherweight champion. Interestingly, he talked about becoming mentally stale when he was a champion, getting tired of the fact that every time he got in the ring, he had the bullseye painted on his chest. Now he says he is just as aggressive and as hungry as when he was a challenger. And also, quite frankly, he says he misses the big paydays. He wants to enjoy bigger paydays to support a championship lifestyle. Bones Adams, on the other hand, just a little thumbnail sketch. He's a young man who has known Kevin Kelley for the past several years, likes him a lot, considers himself very similar to Kevin Kelley, but just a southpaw. And if there's a label to be put on Bones Adams, he is a tough guy indeed. A young man who once in his 36 fights fought with his jaw broken in 2 places. That occurred in the 3rd round, and he continued until the 11th round. Certainly he knows how to handle pain. All right, we're going to take you back downstairs to set up this upcoming match between Kevin Kelley and Bones Adams. Once again, Jim Lampley.
Thank you, JB. And now getting ready to enter the ring, as James pointed out, 2 pretty good friends. Bones Adams was 15 years old and an amateur star when he came out of Southern Illinois and persuaded Madison Square Garden to sign him to a boxing contract. Lied about his age. Technically, he was supposed to be 16. He became a professional when he was only 15 years old. And at that time, he was introduced to one of the Garden's star rising attractions, a young man named Kevin Kelley. They became good friends, running mates by their own admission, and have promised each other that after this fight, they'll have dinner and forget that they ever had to meet each other in the ring.
Why do I think they're not going to have dinner after this fight? This is going to be a tough, tough fight. Kevin Kelley may have a little bit too much Meldrick Taylor in him. He wants to fight you, not just box you. And this kid is a tough kid as well.
His 3 losses all came in a row, Larry. An 11-round war with Orlando Canizales, and all this happened when Bones was still short of his 20th birthday. Then in each of the next 2 fights he lost when he was bedeviled by a shoulder that was constantly separating, and he was popping the shoulder out in each of his losses.
There's something here. There's some substance here, and he may be more than a good test for a Kevin Kelley who now raises doubts about how much he has left. And the odds reflect this. Kelley is not quite a 2-to-1 favorite, which is sort of odd when you consider that he has been a headliner for several years. Bones Adams is a relatively unknown prize fighter.
Fighters' Records are brought to you tonight by The Ring, the Bible of boxing. And there's Bones Adams' record, 31. I told you the 3 losses all came in a row. That was a couple of years back. 2 draws, 16 KOs.
Why would anybody have put him in with Orlando Canizales when he was 19 years old?
For money?
That's what I'm wondering about. Not a good enough reason if you think you've got a real fighter on your hands. Maybe they thought they didn't.
It's one of those question marks that will often be found on the record of a developing fighter. Bones looks over and says hello to us. Entirely personable young man. Kevin Kelley lost his featherweight championship January 7 of this year in San Antonio, Texas, in a war with Alejandro Gonzalez that eventually ended in an 11th round Gonzalez TKO. Kelley and his trainer Phil Borgia believed that they were jobbed in the fight. They say that on these 3 occasions you're seeing, that was 2, when Gonzalez rubbed his gloves against the sides of his trunks in round 1, he was picking up a substance from the sequins on the side of the trunks, which he then was able to deliver into Kelley's eyes via the gloves. And in the 11th round, when the fight was stopped, it was because of that inordinate swelling in both of Kelley's eyelids, which had effectively blinded him. Kelley believes that he was sabotaged by substance on Gonzalez's gloves that night. He and his trainer, Phil Borges, say they went to the Texas State Boxing Commission and to the WBC for satisfaction and got none.
We heard some preliminary stories about that immediately after that fight, but neither Kevin nor his trainer wanted to talk about it. They didn't want to make it seem they were alibying. A couple of hours after the fight, they told us they thought there was something suspicious, that we had remarked curiously why they hadn't used an end swell on Kevin's eyes during the fight, and they said, well, the swelling was inside the lid and they couldn't get there, and they didn't understand how that happened. So this is what their claim is now, but nevertheless, Kevin Kelley has been knocked down in most of his recent fights. If he's not a shot fighter, he's a wounded fighter, and we'll find out how much he has left tonight.
Incidentally, I myself, Larry, was quite critical of cutman Al Gavin that night for the absence of an inswell. Looking back and seeing that the swelling was down on the lids instead of above and around the eyes, I now understand Gavin's argument and position and why he did what he did. Once again, fighters' records are brought to you by The Ring, the Bible of boxing. Kevin Kelley, 42 wins, 1 loss, 1 draw, 30 KOs. In the next fight, after the Alejandro Gonzalez loss, it was another war. He got hit a lot. He was behind and rallied to score a knockout to win that fight. But a lot of Kevin Kelley's close friends and associates believe he's getting hit too much.
Well, as I suggested earlier, he has that Meldrick Taylor in him. He has great boxing skills, but he also has a warrior's heart, and sometimes that isn't to your best advantage.
You see pictures of Kevin's 4 children on his robe. Tail of the tape for these 2 featherweights. Both weighing in at 126 pounds, 1-inch height advantage for Kelley, 3-inch reach advantage. Bones Adams is 7 years younger than his good buddy. Punch stat numbers, Larry.
And here you can see that both of these fighters are pretty active. Kelley is the more accurate fighter. Jabs virtually identical.
Rules of the bout with his heraldness.
The Kevin Kelley Bones Adams fight is scheduled for 12 rounds. There is no standing 8 count, no 3 knockdown rule. Only the referee can stop the fight, and you cannot be saved by the bell in any round, including the last round. Jim.
All right, thanks, Harold. Let's go up to the Buffaroo.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, here at Caesars Palace of Las Vegas, an evening of championship boxing continues with World Championship Boxing, brought to you by Top Rank Incorporated, along with your undisputed king of beers, Budweiser. This bout again is sanctioned by the Nevada State Athletic Commission. Nevada officials at ringside shall remain the same, along with the World Boxing Union. President John Robinson. Supervisor for the WBO will be Hector Gill. The 3 judges scoring this contest on a 10-point must system are Bill Graham, Art Lurie, and Clark Sammartino. And when the bell rings, the man in charge of the action, referee Mitch Halpern. And now, ladies and gentlemen, 12 rounds of boxing for the WBU Featherweight Championship of the World. Introducing first, fighting out of the blue corner, wearing the black trim with gold letters and weighing in at 126 pounds. From Carmi, Illinois, he brings a record of 31 victories with only 3 defeats, 2 draws, 16 KOs to his credit. Ladies and gentlemen, he is Clarence Bones Adams. And his opponent across the ring, wearing the yellow trimmed in turquoise and weighing in at 126 pounds also. From Flushing, New York, an outstanding record of 42-1 with 1 draw, 30 of his 42 victories by KO. Ladies and gentlemen, he is the former featherweight champion of the world, the Flushing Flash, Kevin Kelley.
The instructions in the dressing room: want a good, clean fight, protect yourself at all times. If you guys have any questions? Touch gloves, come on.
If Kevin Kelley thinks he's no longer a target because he isn't a champion, he's about to find out he's wrong. You're always a target in there. And a victory over Kelley would be a big deal for Bones Adams.
Spectacular new outfits for the Kelley crew. Gold trimmed with green. Again honoring Kevin's 4 children. And he himself says, incidentally, I'm still fighting because I need money.
There's no other reason to fight.
He's a professional fighter.
Referee Mitch Halpern brings them together, and round 1 begins between a couple of fairly busy featherweights. Kevin Kelley, normally the busier of the two. Southpaw against conventional fighter. What happens to their front feet, George?
Well, there's going to be a lot of tangling up down there, especially when you try a combination and the other guy's thinking the same thing. You're going to find feet to tangle up. The referee's going to have to do a lot of step back, break, and unlock.
One thing you notice immediately is that Kelley presents a bigger picture. Bigger, stronger.
The one thing about this fight, Kelley has been defeated recently. So Adams is going to have a lot of confidence that he wouldn't have had 2 years ago.